Welcome to Talkin Hoopz on chataboutit.com, the only home for this basketball show. I'm Adam J, AJ, with my two co-hosts, DP and J Hoops. Check us out on iTunes. You can get the podcast of this show, Talkin Hoopz, and go to the website, watch us here on Talkin Hoopz. And this is it, the second show, everybody. I'm excited today, but I got to be honest, I'm kind of mad, guys. When it comes down to it, I watched the Mavs get eliminated by the Spurs. What is up with the third seed team getting knocked out by the second seed team getting knocked out by the seventh seed? What is going on?
Well, you know what it comes down to, Adam? On paper, the Mavs were the better team. To me, Dirk Nowitzki is one of the greatest players ever to play the game. Making that trade for Caron Butler really put them on the map, getting Brendan Haywood. Problem is, San Antonio, when it comes down to it, they're one of the better defensive teams in the league. And when you emphasize on defense, you make other teams play your style of basketball, and that's what happened in the Mavs case. They couldn't keep up with the defense of San Antonio, and when it's all said and done, defense is what's going to win championships.
Yeah, the Mavs are solely built for the regular season. We've seen this year after year. First seed, second seed, home court advantage. It doesn't matter to them. They are the biggest chokers in the NBA right now. Dirk, great as a player as he is, they added Butler. They had Kidd. It's just never good enough. What does Mark Cuban need to do to get this team past?
Maybe he needs to get rid of Dirk and start fresh, brand new. I don't know.
I guess he has his chance coming up this offseason.
You know what? They said Jason Kidd also had the flu, so that also could factor in something. He is a Hall of Fame, future Hall of Fame type of player.
There's plenty of games where I've seen Kobe, Jordan. Now, I'm not saying Kidd is at the level of those guys, but great players. Even in sick situations, flu, stomach virus.
Think of playing basketball when you have the flu, though. Just think of running up and down the court having the flu. It's probably not that much fun.
I'm not downsizing a sickness. Obviously, I can't even get out of bed when I have the flu, let alone play in a playoff game against the Spurs.
I mean, when I have a sore throat, sometimes I don't even feel like getting out of bed.
But the Spurs just play better defense. They're coached better. I mean, Popovich is premier. Not saying that Carlisle isn't, but Popovich has made his home in San Antonio. He's got a better grasp on his team.
What's amazing is that these Mavericks, after the trade deadline, acquiring Brendan Haywood from Washington, Caron Butler from Washington, getting out the rotting wood, as I like to call it, Josh Howard, and rebuilding their team a little bit, they played pretty well in the season together, so why wasn't it there in the playoffs? That, I think, is the big question I had.
Again, it comes down to what I just said before, defense. Go back a couple of years ago when the Detroit Pistons won the NBA Finals. They beat that Laker team, and they did real well in the playoffs like this strictly because of defense. To restate what I said earlier, when defensive-minded teams that play that type of defense, that play that style of basketball, they give offensive-minded teams a much harder time in order to get their game going because they have to worry about this guy being covered. They can't get their offensive flow going. That's exactly what happened with the Mavericks. The Spurs just came together, played better D. Guys like George Hill really stepped up. And, that's now see the Spurs in the second round.
Well, obviously, the Mavericks very disappointed in what happened, losing, being that high of a seed. And Sean Marion had this to say after the game.
I'm talking to y'all right now, and the season's over with. That's really what's up.
Was it frustrating that you guys couldn't get the running game going?
Man, I'm frustrated. Period. Right now, it's just I'm really in lost for words right now to express how I'm really feeling because the season's over with. I wasn't expecting this. I was expecting to be talking to y'all for this in June. And when going home to my summer home in Chicago to June, that was my plan. But it didn't work out like that. And it's real frustrating for me. So it just sucks right now. And we definitely got to get better.
See, so Sean Marion obviously very disappointed and frustrated. As you can see all the stuttering. He just lost of words. Did not know how to react to anything. Just totally confused on why they didn't get it done in the playoffs.
Well, and the key thing I wanted to bring up, too, is talk about the running game. And that's the thing. A team like the Dallas Mavericks, who are a running gun style of play, teams like that really, unfortunately, don't tend to succeed too far in the playoffs. Again, going back a couple of years ago, the Suns, when the 2 years when when Nash won the MVP. You know, that was a run-and-gun team. They were a 60-win team. But when it came down to it, defense is what stopped them. And ironically, it was the San Antonio Spurs that stopped them. I mean, call me crazy. I think the Spurs could go far in the playoffs, a lot further than you would think. I don't know if you guys agree, disagree.
I mean, I don't think that's stepping out on the ledge, making that statement. I mean, okay, yeah, they are 7 seed.
But you know what? It's 7 seed, but they're still
nobody,
a 50-win
nobody
team.
wants to be matched up against the Spurs, even if they were an 8 seed.
But the Phoenix Suns have been playing unbelievable basketball as of late. Really unbelievable basketball. And Amari Stoudemire, it's like he returned to his old form before the injury. He's just playing unbelievable.
Yeah, he went back to his roots.
It's funny what happens when you free agency's on the horizon,
I think
and how players' performances start rising at that same time.
Absolutely. I think Tim Duncan has his hands full this series coming up. I really do. And Jason Richardson is definitely going to be the X factor in this series. If he has a good game, I think the Suns are going to come out with the victory.
Two key things for Phoenix is 2 guys I want to bring up: Channing Frye and Jared Dudley. The last game, Channing Frye and Jared Dudley both, I believe, they scored. Frye had about 15 points. He was hitting his 3-pointers. Same thing with Dudley. He was hitting shots, whereas earlier in the series, they weren't doing much at all. If those 2 guys continue to step up and be the key, then Phoenix does have a shot of winning this. But if you're going to put a gun to my head and say who's going to win this series, I am going to have to lean towards the Spurs. And plus, I was also reading, too, that Tony Parker, who came off the bench in all of the first round, is going to be expects to be coming off the bench in
I've read the same. I mean, it's always the guys other than the superstars that seem to perform. So, like you said, Frye and Dudley, as opposed to Stoudemire and Nash, because those are constants. We expect them to do what they do, but it's the guys other than Duncan and Parker, like George Hill stepping up. I mean, George Hill was fantastic.
George Hill was fantastic.
So,
he was fantastic.
Whoever, in this series particular, whoever can get those outside guys to excel, I think that's the key. But I still do like the Spurs in this series, even though Phoenix has the home court.
So predictions. What do you guys think? Spurs in how many games?
I'm looking at the Spurs. I would say the Spurs in 6.
I will say the Spurs in 7.
Wow, I'm going with the Suns I think I'm going to go with the Suns in 6 games. I'm going with Phoenix Suns in 6 games. I think they have a lot to prove, and they're just a very good basketball team, and I think their offense is really going to help them through this round. And like I said, I think Tim Duncan is going to have a problem guarding a fast, up-tempo team with guys like Amari.
But he didn't have a problem covering them in the past. And you know what? Just as Duncan is getting older, so is Stoudemire.
You know what? Stoudemire is a lot younger than Duncan.
He's still a lot younger, but still a couple of years
Duncan
gone by.
has had problems guarding these players in the past. You check up the numbers on Tim Duncan; they're not as good field goal percentage-wise. He may have had 20
But you know
points
what?
a game,
That's where guys like
percentage.
Ginobili is going to set up. And I'll tell you right now, Richard Jefferson, I think is going to have a big series. I think he's going to step up because even though the Spurs are a defensive-oriented team, they're still going to have to run and gun and be quick to keep up with the Suns, and that's where Richard Jefferson really excelled as a player. I think look for him to step up and put up some decent numbers too, along with guys like Ginobili.
As fast as Richard Jefferson is, though, the Spurs, not the greatest three-point shooting team compared to the Suns. And the Suns are going to hit a lot of three-point shots in this
But that
series.
could also get them in trouble, too,
Right.
because they'll start taking a lot of threes, and that's where the Spurs defense
Generally,
comes into play.
three-point happy teams get themselves
They
into
get
trouble
trigger
in the
happy.
playoffs.
Absolutely, but this isn't the normal. You're talking about the Phoenix Suns, a powerhouse offense. This is not the normal team, not a normal NBA team just shooting threes over and over again. This is what they do. This is how they play. They donate $150.
But that's also how they lost. I don't care if they donated $250.
$150 to charity for every three they make, because they make that many, and that's why the charities are so good.
But you know what? An offense
like
like
the
that is
Suns.
not gonna. They're not gonna excel with an offense. I mean, they're not gonna advance. With an offense like that.
I think they're gonna advance with an offense the way they play. And Alvin Gentry has got them on their defense a little bit more. So I like the Suns in this series. I'm going with the Suns in Game 6. But hey, we'll see what happens.